You're running for the first Hampden and Hampshire District State Senate seat. Eric Lesser is pursuing Lieutenant Governor. Is that what he's running for?
Correct. I think he's running along with Maura Healey.
Okay.
I think they're a ticket, and so he's given the seat up, and he's going to go and he's going to make an effort to become our lieutenant governor, and we'll see what happens. Nice guy. I think he's a wonderful guy. I just don't really agree what he and what most Democrats stand for nowadays, and that's why I'm running.
He is an excellent politician. I disagree with his politics, but you can't open the paper, you can't turn on the news without seeing his face. He's everywhere. So the seat's open. Can you tell us about the race, who's running, and why you're running?
Yeah, first off, why I'm running. And so it's a little involved, and I'm essentially running because I don't think there's anybody else in the race who has the experience required to serve our now enlarged district. And so I don't know if people realize, but our state has been redistricted. So the state Senate seat that Eric now has his district has been changed, and now it runs from South Hadley all the way over to Warren, Mass. One small town in Worcester County, down to Hampden, across to Longmeadow, parts of Chicopee, Springfield, all of Ludlow, all of Palmer. So now Eric's seat, or the seat that Eric's vacating, covers 12 cities and towns, and it's an incredibly large district. And from what I understand, there's a young girl, young lady out of Longmeadow, who I believe is 26 years old, who's running. And I also understand the state rep out of Ludlow, I think his first name's Jake, is also running. He's a first term state representative. And the young lady out of Longmeadow, what I understand of her experience is that she's worked for Ed Markey for a couple of months. And this other gentleman, this Jake, first term representative, I understand that his experience is that, one, he's a first term rep, but also he served on his on Ludlow's school committee for a number of years. And look, I'm not discounting their experience at all, but all I'm saying is I believe personally, and folks who have asked me to run believe that our district deserves somebody with just a little bit more experience. And look, I'm in a primary also at this time. I'm running against a businessman from Granby, wonderful man. He owns a tow truck business. But from what I understand, this guy spent most of his life, he's 65 years old, running this tow truck business and donating to Democrats and, for his business. So I question his motives too. He's political, but again, at heart, he's a businessman. And I like to tell folks, which it's actually the truth, I've never worked a day in my life. I served 28 years in our military, and not a day of it was work for me. It was just the most utter noble obligation that I could have ever taken on. And I was blessed too, because I like serving people and I want to help people, to be able to go to law school when I was in the Marine Corps. And so I became a lawyer, not like, most lawyers do, because you can make a good living, but I became a lawyer to help people. What really pains me is I see an awful lot of suffering, and I'm looking out my window in my home, an awful lot of suffering. And here's where I have a big challenge, a big personal challenge. My last 12 years in the military, so I retired in September 2018. My last 12 years in the military, I literally the last 12 years served all over the world, whether it was the Middle East and Iraq and Afghanistan times, whether it was throughout Asia, throughout the Pacific, whether it was throughout Europe. I was working in most of our, in and out of most of our embassies overseas. And what I was doing was, look, I'm an unabashed Christian, unabashed conservative. I think conservative values went out in the day. But what I was doing was in support of my role as an influence officer in both the Marine Corps. So I served 20 years in the Marine Corps, and then I served 8 years in the Army. Retired as a lieutenant colonel. So in my role as an influence officer, I was working with all other U.S. government organizations and agencies to influence foreign populations. And that was being done through propaganda. And a lot of the propaganda was true. You know, when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, a lot of my job was to deceive our enemies and bring about their demise many a times. But what we as a nation are trying to sell is freedom throughout the world, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, so that people can enjoy their lives. What I have as a personal challenge is, because I did that job, and I did it at the highest level, you know, with ambassadors, sitting with 4-star generals that were running the operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, sitting with the 3- and 4-star generals in Europe, in the Pacific. I very easily recognize propaganda in our media and lies in our media when I see it. And it troubles me because it's so pervasive nowadays. You know, our society, as a result of all these lies, this propaganda, has created so much tribalism throughout our communities, where you can't really have a calm discussion with anybody any longer. Most people just have blinders on. There's no critical thought that goes into really anything anymore, whether it's in our school systems, in our government decisions. I'll give you an example, and interrupt me at any time you want. Really, if you got any questions, like.
Well, how are you going to do this? How are you going to break through the propaganda? So we spoke earlier. My father ran for this same seat. It was a smaller district then, but in 2010, and it is difficult to communicate with people, to sell yourself as a politician, and to get them to think about some of the things that are being fed to them on a regular basis through the media. So do you have a strategy for doing this?
Well, the strategy is, look, you know, I laugh, you know, God's got a sense of humor, because, you know, I was raised by two blue collar parents. My mother passed away in March 2018. I was raised in East Boston in Wilmington, Massachusetts, small little town on the North Shore, 20 minutes north of Boston, and then East Boston. And so, you know, what I hope to do is to just reintroduce just rational thought, calm dialogue, discussion back into the public arena. When I retired in September 2018, I went back to being a lawyer. I hadn't done it since 9/11. And I work with a lot of extremely liberal, very, left of left folks as a criminal defense lawyer. But I'll tell you, I get along very well with those folks, and I'm most proud of the fact that many of my friends, defense counsel from Northampton, the very liberal areas of Western Mass, greatly support me, and they say, look, John, we don't agree with all your conservative views, fiscal views, social views, but we know your heart, John. We know you're an incredibly effective attorney. We know that you genuinely love people and want what's best for everybody. And that's really encouraging to me, to know that folks recognize that when they meet me and they see me at work. And that's all I want for anybody. To get back to my whole, recognizing the propaganda in our government and the politics and all, for instance, I was sitting in Afghanistan, it was September 11th, 2012. And I'm sitting there in Afghanistan. I had just come back from advising the Afghan government. And our consulate in Benghazi got attacked. And the next thing I know, we've got a TV on and we're watching the president, tell the rest of the world in America that the attack was as a result of a video that some guy in Florida posted. And I sat there in Afghanistan going, my gosh, is this what I'm risking my life for? Is this what some of my friends have given their lives for? And that's a problem that I have, that I can recognize that, the hypocrisy, the absurdity, and that was just totally absurd. Then you had Secretary Clinton, and I'm not maligning Democrats. Both the right and the left does this, and it upsets me because I hate seeing it done for these political purposes. Take COVID, for instance, the knee-jerk reactions, the mask mandates that came out. When COVID first, quote unquote, became an issue, the World Health Organization said, hey, look, it's a cold, like other colds and viruses, people will react, severely. There will be some loss of life, the mask wearing, the masks have no effect at all. And before we knew it, our whole society was shut down. Our economy was shut down. People were told to lock down in their homes. I would walk throughout my little neighborhood here, and people would give you a cross-eye because you were outside with your wife and kids. Schools were shut down, and I said to myself, I knew, hey, look, after you've done what I've done all over the world for our U.S. government, the propaganda and the information operations, both attributable, non-attributable work to influence other populations, you got to question a lot. You got to conduct critical thinking. And, when you look at the fact that Major League Baseball, the NFL, celebrities were able to have their parties, you'd be able to go to games without masks, masks are encouraged. And yet we shut down all of our churches, synagogues, our mosques. Our most important institutions in this country were shut down, but we left the liquor stores open. And I don't mean to be trite and flippant and all, but my problem is that there's no critical thought anymore. There's too much tribalism. And when cities are torn apart over false narratives, look, I'm in court every day. This whole leftist narrative that our systems are systematically racist, it just isn't true. Our judges, our judicial systems are so overworked, they're stretched to the limit that the judges don't have time. You look at these people are looking for microaggressions, they're looking for micro prejudices from judges and police, and we want to defund the police. My problem is, look at what people need to do is be a little bit more responsible. And when I get my criminal clients, when I talk to them, and they don't want to some of them do. Some of them enjoy their crazy lifestyles and whatnot, and they're the frequent flyers throughout the system.
Yeah.
But a lot of them want to change their lives. And when I say to them, as a quote unquote counselor, more as a counselor than an attorney, is look, you got to change your attitude, you got to change your perspective, you got to change what you're doing in order to keep yourself out of trouble. And so with that, I hope to encourage people to do a little bit more critical thinking,
Well, you have your work cut out for you. I mean, especially when you look at most of my experience, aside from court, with government, the court and the clerks and the city halls, are these board meetings. So the counselors that we have here in town, the school committee, and you watch their meetings, and they act with a lot of decorum. They are over the top positive about everything, but there is almost no critical discussion about anything at all. I mean, so take the school committee, for instance. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education could say up is down, black is white, whatever they wanted to say. And it just goes straight down to the local boards and they implement it. I mean, it just doesn't, there's no hashing things out. There's no scrutinizing anything. So you have your work cut out for you. Before we wrap up, what is the one issue that's most important to you? And then how can people support you? Do you have a website? Have you had a kickoff? Are you going to have a kickoff? How can we support you? So what's most important to you, and how can people support you?
Well, what's most important to me is the welfare of individuals, and whether that's a more robust economy, whether that's a more transparent government. I want to see people. I don't want to see people stressed out, and I see that a lot of times. I see it within my own family, and I try to keep things simple. Look, I might come off as cocky and arrogant sometimes, but I get up every day, I roll out of bed onto my knees and I say my prayers. I'm grateful just to be alive right now. When I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, every day I'd pray Psalm 91. My wife would be praying for me. And, I was grateful, on all those days. I was grateful to be able to come back from those experiences. What I want for people is for our government just to be forthright and honest with all of us, and to implement policies that benefit all of us, not some select few, because of votes or because of power. And so my platform, it's the economy's suffering. People have to ask themselves, who do they want representing them? Who do they want representing them? A rubber stamp? Somebody, and they have to ask themselves, are they doing better today than they were 2 years ago? And really have to engage in critical thought. I haven't, I just found out last week that look, I'm on the ballot. I'm happy about that. I haven't, I'll plan a kickoff. I will, I'll stand up a website. But what I need more than anything, look, there's too much, in my opinion, there's too much apathy out there too. Even in our small town of East Longmeadow, there's an awful lot of apathy.
Mhm.
There's a lot of folks that are, yeah, John, it's great that you'd run, but why would you ever do that? Why would you do that? Yeah, and there isn't any financial incentive for me at all. It's a great financial loss to me. It's a great loss of time to me also, for my family. I love spending time with my wife and kids. Love it. I love being retired. I really don't have to work anymore, but I love serving other people and helping other people. And so look, both of us actually do have to get back to work because, you know, hey, look, we're the attorneys that want to help folks. And so, you know, to just answer your question, I'll plan a kickoff. I'm going to need financial support. And, you know, if folks do want to donate, they can donate to Harding for State Senate. And I live over at 134 Old Farm Road, East Longmeadow, 01028. They can send a check over, and it would go towards just me getting my word out. You know, just the fact is, you know, I've got a lot of experience, and I've got a lot of sincere compassion and passion to help our town folk and the folks in our district. And what I want to do is cut through all the lies, the propaganda, and you know, get to the heart of issues and help folks. So I don't know if I'm going to be a great politician. We'll see. I've been affected in everything else I've done in life, and so you know, with God's help, anything's possible. I have no doubt about that. And I just think that we as a community and as a society need to return to trusting in God, you know. And so I don't want to be too verbose right now. I could go on. I could go on all day.
Not a problem. We appreciate you running, and keep us updated on your campaign as it progresses. Thanks a lot, John Harding.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks so much.
Take care.
God bless you for what you're doing. Thanks.
Same to you.
Yep. Bye-bye.